Hello, and welcome to the TrailManners podcast. I'm your host, Aric Manning, coming to you from the beautiful trails in Ogden, Utah, but connecting you to wherever trail, ultra, and mountain running takes us. We'll bring trail running to life with amazing athletes, discuss the latest topics, epic journeys, and get you stoked for your next trail adventure. We're sharing the moments that make life special, because even a rough day on the trail beats a good day indoors, and nothing beats time spent with good friends and great stories. Catch us here weekly for your dose of dirt, vert, and good vibes. So now it's time to top off your water, grab some cheese curds, and join us for this week's podcast, where we take you deep into the heart of our sport. It's go time. Hello and welcome to episode number 314 of the TrailManners podcast. We're going single track style on this one. The TrailManners podcast is produced for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can all follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at TrailManners. And don't forget to subscribe, review, or rate us on iTunes. If you're so inclined, TrailManners would really appreciate any contribution via our Patreon account at patreon.com/TrailManners. All links in the show notes. Now let's get after it. Well, hello and welcome back to the Singletrack Session. I am your host, Aric Manning. And we've got some stuff to cover. It's been a couple weeks since you've heard a show from us. The last few shows were pretty good. I think so. We had number 312 from Tara Warren. We talked about her FKT, the Hurt, and the RUFA. Then we followed that up with episode 313 with Preston Wood. He did his Hurt recap, which we got a lot of people messaging us about because it was such an amazing story about the race. As we know, Preston didn't make it to the finish, but the reason why sure does warm an ultra/trail runner old school dude's soul, just to see that good things are still out there and there's good people. Not that we didn't think that, but it's sure good to be reminded every once in a while. So we got a lot of messages from Instagram from people. We got a message from someone on Instagram and that said, hey, I was the person in that race that said the gate was closed, and talked about just having a lot of respect for the sport after hearing what Preston did throughout the race and how that ended for him. But we've got a lot to cover on the show. It is the launch date of February the 8th, 2022. There's a lot to talk about, but let's start off. It's been a while. Let's start off by TrailManners Beer of the Week. So the Beer of the Week is from Illuminated Brew Works, and if you've listened to the show before, you know they've been on here before. These guys are kicking it out. It's a double dry hopped double IPA, and I'm thinking it says Brony, Brony, or is it Brawny? I think it's Bronies. So this, like all their stuff, is fantastic. The artwork's great on the can. It's very smooth. It is very, if for an IPA that doesn't talk about being hazy, very hazy. Great taste, great finish. Recommend. We got to get a scale still for the Beer of the Week on how we judge them. We can't do like a hop. We can't do, some. We've talked about doing a cheese curd rating, and that goes so well, right, with a beer. But right now, we'll say if there was a potential, we'll give it a 5, up to 5. I'm giving this a 4.5. This is fantastic. So anyway, that is the Beer of the Week, and we're always listening to your beer suggestions. Just a reminder, though. I'm an IPA guy. Always have been. I do have other stuff here and there, but send me over your beer suggestions if you have any. So anyway, just recently I was fortunate enough to take a run-cation, and this is one of my favorite things to do. One of the things that I probably didn't do enough of in my early years, when I walked both ways uphill to school. But I went down to Moab to do a little running. And you'd think, heading south from the Ogden area, where we were cold last week. This week is warming up a little bit. We're killing it. We almost hit 40-something today. But it was cold. Went down to Moab. It was actually colder in Moab than Ogden when I looked at my cellular device that has the weather thing on it. But it was amazing. Ran down at Dead Horse State Park. Did a nice loop around that with some scenic overlooks. And then we hit a trail. And if you're going to Moab or in that area, here's a trail I recommend. And I know maybe some people have done it, but if you're in Moab, do Hidden Valley Trail. It says it's 6 miles, but you can extend it going out on the Moab Rim Trail. It's to the south of town, next to Pipe Dream, which is another awesome trail. But this Hidden Valley Trail was absolutely phenomenal. It's about a 500-foot climb in the first half mile. So you earn it a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's beautiful. Once you get there, you get into these open valleys. It's just absolutely stunning. We were fortunate to run across the lady that was running. She goes, "Oh, you guys here to see the petroglyphs?" And I thought, well, sure, why not? We knew they were here, but we really didn't. She kind of gave us an idea where they were, so we went and saw some really cool petroglyphs. Anytime I see stuff like that, it just honestly gives me the chills because I think it's just so amazing, right? You see stuff, and sometimes you look at it and go, well, they weren't the best drawers in the world, but, give some break. It's rock on rock. But it's awesome to see that. So if you're ever in Moab, recommend hitting that trail. While we were down there, interesting story, though. The Wasatch 100 lottery was last weekend. And all those that got in, congratulations. If you didn't get in, I hope you got a B race or maybe a plan B, or you get in next year. But we're down there and we're listening on the way. We're driving to Dead Horse State Park and we're listening to the YouTube live feed. The people coming out. Turtle Miller got drawn out, so sent him a text, and he was like, in pure turtle fashion, bleepity bleep, that he got in. As we're driving out there, though, it's kind of, out in the middle of the desert area, and we lost service. So we're listening to the show. There's we probably had 100 more names to draw at this point, and the service died. So Sarah was like, great, and I thought, well, we'll know sooner or later. We made it maybe 2 more miles, if that, and she got a ping, text message from good friend Preston Wood saying, Wasatch, woohoo! So she got into Wasatch. So I'll be tackling the Bear 100 2 weeks after the Wasatch. So congratulations, Sarah. Good draw, and congratulations those who got in. Preston got in as well, and a few other folks that we know. Jim Skaggs, good friend of ours, lost 2 of his pacers, myself and Sarah included. So Jim, I know, is looking for some love for the Wasatch 100. But that brings me to a point, run-cations, right? We all talk about races. What race do you want to do? What's a bucket list race? There's a lot of lure around racing, but run-cations, I'm seeing more and more people do those, or maybe it's because it's on social media and they post more, but what's your run-cation list, right? Just in the past couple of years, I've done a lot of running in Bryce National Park, Kodachrome Basin State Park, Goblin Valley, Capitol Reef, got over to Kauai not too long ago, went down to Arizona, just right outside of Phoenix, about a little over a year ago, ran with some cacti and some burros down there. All fantastic places, but I'm curious if there's any places where's a run-cation I need to hit where you've got not just the views. And when I go a run-cation, it's not busting out, 40 miles a day. It's like, let's wake up, let's have some coffee, because I love some coffee. Have a little coffee, do not have Raisin Bran. I had Raisin Bran before our one run, and I don't eat cereal and milk to begin with, but I did, because that's their continental breakfast was pretty weak. Boy, I paid for that for like an hour and a half. Just did not feel well. Anyway, I like me some coffee. Let it soak in, get the thing. Start my run a little later, a few hours, and then come back, relax, have a nice meal. That's the type of atmosphere, right? So like some good food, some good adult beverage, right? But also a good run. We could say up to, 18 miles. I'm not going to say 20. That seems really far today. 18, right? So you can get in 2 days worth of some really quality runs with some good atmosphere around you that's not, the norm. So if you got some of those, send them my way. I'm really into those. Planning a few more this year, and we'll talk about those later. But there's some really good spots here in Utah, obviously. But where else? I know there's spots everywhere. Give me some places to go. I love to go run-cationing in Bellingham. Right now, that's like, it's been a while. I need to get back up there, visit my friend Jeff, and run around there a little bit. But run-cations, right? What's next? What do you got? This last weekend, as we mentioned earlier with talking about Tara Warren's podcast, we had RUFA. So those that aren't familiar with that is the Running Up for Air series that Jared Campbell put together, and there's 4 different locations. This past weekend, it was at Grandeur Peak. Courtney DeWalter and Jamil Curry and Luke Nelson. I mean, there's everybody there. But in our gem of the world, Malin's was Ogden. So I was there helping out. I just ran 1 lap and then volunteered for about 13 and a half hours between the 2 days, working some quesadillas, working on some miso soup, just peddling all the chow I could find, right? Just giving all the chow. But such a great event. Tara Warren did such an amazing job. Jared Campbell putting this, starting this event and everybody involved. But wow, how awesome was it to see so many familiar faces, A, and then people I just met for the first time, B. I can't tell you how much I've missed the trail community in that realm, right? That aspect. When people are out, and this is a suffer fest. It's I think it's a 6-mile round trip with over 2,000 feet of vert, and it was cold, so they had the 24-hour event that started at 6 p.m. and ended the next day. They had a 12-hour event that started at 6 a.m. on Saturday, and then 3 different 6-hour opportunities to jump into. And I did the 6 p.m. Friday night event so I could get to some volunteerism after that. But yeah, it's always fun to see people at races, and I think a lot of us have missed that. I know that it's not like there wasn't some last year, but we're still, I feel like we're still coming out of that, right? That ickiness from years, and it's not that it stopped, but much, much higher level of you can't be around each other. Now it's a little different. Whatever your reasoning, whatever your, ideas, whatever you think, it's coming back, and it felt good. It felt really good to be around so many awesome people of all around, right? I mean, just different people doing those things. And there's some pretty killer performances in Salt Lake City. For example, they had the 24-hour winners, which was Brian Colmo and Justine Hewitt. 13 laps and 11 laps there. 12-hour winner, there's a name you might heard of. Courtney DeWalter did 7 trips. Brian Carey did 8. I don't know, it's Carey or Curl, to be honest with you. It's kind of a weird, my eyes are bad. The 6-hour, Grant Barnett and Leah Yingling, 4 times, that one. And then here in Ogden, my home turf, the O-Town, Reed Woolsey did 12 laps in 24 hours. And Karen Bishop did 7 laps in 24 hours. And she ran with her friend Amy Musgrove, and it was her birthday. And we'll have them on the show later in this year to talk about what they have going this year. And I'm not going to spoil it, but we'll get those 2 on to hear their story. On the 12-hour side, overall winner was Andrea Christensen. She did 9 times in 12 hours. That's pretty crazy. And Royce Hampton did 8 times. 6-hour winner was Ryan Montgomery, also set a course record there for the 6-hour. And then Jane Moss. So he did 5 laps, she did 4. Such an awesome event, though, for a good cause. Running Up for Air is just, we have such bad air quality here in Utah in a few places. We just get it socked in. It's just nasty. You don't even want to go outside. It's so dirty. And when you get up top, if you go climbing that day, you get out of it and you look down on it, it's just a sea of muck. But hopefully it just raises more awareness, some education it could help pay for. There's a lot. All the proceeds go to a couple different organizations. Race directors don't collect any. They got great partners throughout this. I don't need to name them all, but they're just people that, you want to be a part of, that are looking forward thinking of everything that's going on. So there's some great events. Also, this past weekend, we'll name a couple others. The Rocky Raccoon 100. I say raccoon. We also had what's the one I'm looking for? Oh my gosh. Sean O'Brien, the 100K, which seemed to be a duel at the end between Jeff Browning and Jesse Haynes, that popped out pretty good. But this weekend is going to be exciting. I saw a couple people here this weekend in Ogden, but the Black Canyon races in Meyer, Arizona, that are put on by Air Viper Running, those are happening coming up. They are coming up, and there is some golden tickets to be won. which is just going to make that Western States field even deeper. And it's always such a great race. Definitely one on my list to get to. I struggle with long races early in the year, though, because of the winter training and the winter blues, the doldrums and the cold. But it's a race I definitely want to get to. A lot of fast runners out there on both sides, both men and women in that 100K. I think it's going to be pretty competitive. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some severe, strong, maybe is another S word, strong, just some good fast times, right? Some speedy times. I think I don't know, thinking about, right, this year where racing's kind of been on the back burner, for a couple of years now, I just feel like this is the year of course records. This is the year of like 1, 2, and 3 finishing closer together. Everybody's ready to burn. There's so many amazing runners out there. I think there's going to be some really fast times out there. And I'm also excited for people, kind of that mid-pack group. That's where I classify myself, is that I can relate in the mid-pack group. I think there's going to be a lot of people surprise themselves this year. Whether it's training for a certain race, having a little more time to think, all these things. I think overall, racing this year is just going to have a very big upside, right? And just happiness, not as many bummer deals happening. I think people are raring to go. I think they're motivated. I think we've taken a step back for a while and, refocused and maybe healed some injuries. FKTs were a bigger thing the last couple of years, obviously, without races, and people wanted to use their fitness. But I'm throwing my money on some really good race results for people this year. So if you're out there, you're doing a race, you're going to kill it. You are going to have an A race on your A race day. I can feel that. And speaking of A races on A race days, a couple of weeks ago, they had the Ultra Runner of the Year Awards. And if you've listened to the podcast, Joel Hatch and myself, we've talked about this for years. Not just the results for 1 through 10, which I think they did a great job this past year. And if you haven't seen it, you can go find that pretty much anywhere on the intro web. We won't go down the list of either one. They've been out for a while. But Ultra Runner of the Year, the ones that come out locally are American-based, right? Like in America, we've always talked about it. Joel and I talked about how fun it would be to go 11 through 20. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think would be hard, and it not as pressure-packed to get it right. You get down to like 5 and under, people are like, oh no, he should have been 3, she should have been 2. But I think 11 through 20 would be a lot of fun. And I think you're throwing more recognition towards maybe that next group, right? That for one reason or another is not in that top 10, but that's a bigger selection. And we've also, and it's got a lot of steam this year. Jason Coops talked about it. That's gone around, but like just overall, like international, that would be a tough one. You'd have to really have somebody, more than somebody, I guess, really focused in on all the races, because you think how big that is. I mean, we always think internationally, think Europe, but boy, over in Asia, Australia, all those places, there's a whole bunch of amazing runners and good times. But how would that be? Just have a cool, you could do it on a slide, doesn't have to be official. It's not like you win anything, but just like an overall, right? Not just American or even, after that, you can't say but European doesn't include everybody. But an overall, Ultra Runner of the Year, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So we've talked about that. I know Ultra Sign Up also did something that we've done in the past a little bit, and hopefully this year we're going to do more of, and we're going to wait for our listener to give us ideas. So here we go. Here's our listener help, right? So kind of awards you'd like to see in 2022. I think Ultra Sign Up did a good job this year, something kind of new of, best pacer, best, whatever. But what other awards, fun stuff, right? Because we need a little awards gig. You don't necessarily win anything, or maybe you do. I don't know. What kind of award would be cool? A name of an award for an ultra runner, like Bloodiest Fall, right? Just some fun. That probably isn't fun. So if you have one of those pictures, that probably wasn't fun for you. But, some fun stuff, right? We got to come up with that list. I know Joel and I worked on it for a while and kind of let that go to the wayside. But what award would you like to see given in the trail running / or ultra running community? I think that would be fun. And maybe it's not even race-based. Maybe we do our own with shoe of the year, shorts of the year, just some fun stuff, right? Maybe give us some prizes. So think about it. Let that marinate, and let's get back to us. Manners at TrailManners.com. Also, I hope you've all seen this. I'm going to say I'm very curious. I'm a very curious individual. But if you've checked out the OutdoorMentors.com website, okay? Well, obviously I did, right? So this is pretty cool. It's put on by Killian and Emily, I believe, is the main driving force behind this. But it's share experiences with the greatest outdoor talent. You can learn at your own pace. They have courses, right? So you can sign up for these courses. So Killian's, his talks about the principles of trail running. And the other one with Emily is pregnancy and 9 months training. So if you click on Killian's, and I'm not paid to do this, but it's just super cool. You can buy it now for 60 euros. And I looked that up before the show. I thought it'd be a little prepared, but that's about $68 US, right? So what do you get though for that? Well, according to this, you can get episode 1 type of races. You can get basics of training, plan the season, how to uphill run, how to downhill run, strategy and mental preparation. This is from, I'm pulling this back. This is from we called him the Hornet, Killian, because he just was stinging everybody, right? But this is what you get. You start with trail running. You set yourself a sports challenge, measure your progress. Go to the website. Just check it out. We're not getting anything from it. It's just a unique, cool thing. And it's always fun to support trail runners when they break off. Not that, either one of them need this fresh start, which they're getting. And Killian's got some great things in the work that we're tracking. And we won't be the ones to break it because, we rarely do. But you'll hear about it. But Emily's got a really cool one. Hers is like sport and pregnancy. First trimester changes, second trimester, third trimester. So that would be kind of cool, I think. Not for me necessarily, but maybe it would. I don't know. But I think this is a great thing to have two, first of all, amazing people, right? And also athletes, kind of break down their thing at 60 euros. And again, I think I Googled it. 60 euros equals 68.64 US dollars. Right now, the rate is 1 to 1.14414, stuff like that. So pretty good deal. If any of you out there have done this or you're going to do it, will you keep me posted? I'm curious, what you think of it, because I think it's a really cool thing. There's coaching out there, obviously. There's a lot of that going on, and don't get me started on that. We will have a podcast about, all the people that are coaches, because it's just getting crazy. And I've never been a good runner. Let's get that. I'm a middle of the pack guy, but I'm kind of older school on the trail running side. Just been around doing it for a while and know all the old guard that even came in way before me. And just to see the change in the coaching world is pretty interesting. So don't get me started. But if you're going to get somebody to get a lesson plan or some talking about, Killian and Emily, you can't go wrong in either one. And for $68, I mean, that's what, 3 or 4 lattes? I don't know what the price is on those these days. I'm a coffee guy, but that's got to be close, right? It's not too bad, not too big of a stretch, but check them out, theoutdoormentors.com, okay? Let me know. I'm curious to see what everybody thinks and how that goes. And we've been talking a lot about our good friend Joel Hatch lately, and I went and saw him last week. Little sneak peek behind the curtain. I did some stretch therapy from him, and that was awesome. Oh, he does such an amazing job. And while I was in there, I'm going back to Bomber. So those that aren't familiar, Joel runs a gym. He's going to massage therapy school right now, does some myofascial stretching as well, but back to Bomber this week. So in a couple days, I'll be crying. My hamshanks are going to be sore. I'm not going to be able to sit down. It's going to be ugly, but it's so awesome and beneficial to keep doing that. All right, let's get into Woody Footy, and then we're going to follow up with some Ask TrailManners questions that came out. Woody Footies have been phenomenal. Holy cow. I'm just going to go over this week's, and we'll announce the winner too. But let's start off with Andrew, Edmonton. Such an awesome dude, Andrew Giles. Been following the show forever. Love to see his name pop up. Always can count on a killer photo. This one was as well. Nice little fenced trail with some trees. We got Jen Haas Walker from Irwin, Idaho, Palisades area. She's always good for one. Sarah Moore did one of Malin's while she was up there. JT Thorne had a great one from Gibson Jack Trail in Pocatello, Idaho, the 208 there. Fog with a tree and a sun on that. Mark Davis, name you hear all the time. This guy kills it with photos. Sunset over Corona Del Mar in SoCal. Now, I want to be there when I look at that photo just because it's gorgeous and there's that fireball that looks warm, and we don't have that much here right now. Preston Wood had a great one, serving up some quesadillas and miso at RUFA. Had his, they're dressed really warm. Seth and him are serving up, and when I finished my lap, I went in and hung out with those two. Jim Skaggs had I think it's what is it called? A spotted cow beer. I think it's from Wisconsin, sitting on the table. So, I snatched that up because nothing's better than that. And got to give it to Seth. He was rocking the Miller Lite. We won't talk too much more about that because I don't want to ruin the show. But yeah, fun time hanging out with those guys for a few hours that night. Rachel Zeller, she got a great, her puppy walk. He looks mean in that photo. He looks scary, but I'm sure he's like a sweet puppy. Amy Musgrove, top of Malin's after her 7th trip with Karen Bishop. Those two just killed it. Can't tell you how proud I am of those two for what they've done. Alex Trevino, his run-cation to Olympic State Park. Ugh, jealous. That's all I got there. Chris Carney, he's got a great photo of a group of runners up there. Guessing from the 208 getting represented. Such a great group up there. I wish I had more time to get up there and just take a trail run with them because they've been such great supporters of the show. A lot of the Palisades crew. What a great group. If you're part of a trail running group, hats off to you because that's just a fun time to share those experiences with people. So, Chris, thanks for sending that photo. Makes me jealous that I'm not standing there or even taking that. Maybe I'd just take the photo since I'm not from Idaho, but it's really cool. This week's winner, though, I'm going to go ahead. It's Church Rocks in St. George, Utah, and it is gorgeous and makes me want to go there right now. Heather Carter is going to be the winner of the Woody Footy this week, so you'll see her picture posted when we launch the show. So congratulations, Heather. And please keep them coming. We've had some great Woody Footies in the last few weeks. Ricky Nerud from Morocco. I love seeing that. There's the same. Lee Moss has been doing it. Aaron Davis, Jeremy Haddock on Grandeur. We got a lot of regulars, and I love it. Oh, there's one. Eric Manning, Dead Horse Point State Park with a Woody Footy flag. What? You mean there's Woody Footy flags that TrailManners can send out for people to take cool pictures of and send back with their signature on it? Get out. Tell me more. Okay, I'll do that. So we've got some flags. Got some TrailManners flags. Got some Woody Footy flags. Let me know if you want to take one to a race, a cool spot. I'll send you one. Take it. Take a photo. They're small. They fold up nice. Sign it with your name and mail it back. Now, there is some investment, I guess, mailing it back to me here in Utah. But you don't have to do it, but it'd be nice. I want to see where these flags go throughout the year. I think it'd be fun. So we've talked about it before. But if you're interested in that, let me know. Good friend of the show, Missy Jackson from Oakmont Trail, Redlands, California. Another sweet little single track photo. So keep the Woody Footies coming. We're working on prizes, folks. We're working on some new gear for WDYFTY winners. I know it's not just, I don't know, what am I trying to say? You just get your name called, right? That's not enough. That's not enough, manners. Okay, well, we're going to try and get back to some hats. We're also trying to upgrade some things to make some I'm talking big changes with the TrailManners show and what we want to do in 2022. So we'll see how far these bucks stretch. But yeah, keep those coming. Woody Footy every Sunday on Facebook. Spread the word. Share with your friends. I know y'all run with somebody. Let them know, hey, this is pretty fun. This is cool. And really, all I'm looking for is some really cool photos. Just some great places to run, see where you're at, and see who we connect with. Again, we're going to have finales with monthly and yearly awards through that, and it'll be a lot of fun. All right, Ask TrailManners. We've had a few questions in the last couple weeks. I apologize we weren't here last week, but I'm here now. So, first question is a great question. I was wondering if there's anything besides stretching/rolling, I've already doing these, that you found helps tight muscles. I struggle specifically with my calves. Thanks in advance. And I'm going to say this because this is what they put, and it just makes me happy. Super thankful for the podcast and all you do, Aric. And they spelled Aric with an A, even bonus. That was from Ricky Rude. This is such a great question. I'm going to tell you what. I've struggled for so long with tight calves. My calves it's a junk show, right? They're kitty wampus, all out of whack. What I've found the most helpful is dry needling. I hate needles. They scare me. When I go to my dry needle guy, I literally will lay there and just sweat profusely. They think it's funny. They bring me water to hydrate, and they bring me a towel. But dry needling is phenomenal. I've had it done on my hip when I hurt that at Beaverhead last year. But that's one thing that I know that's helped my calves a lot. So try dry needling if you can. There's A-stem, which is scraping. Grafton technique is the other word for it. Different modality or tools. But yeah, A-stem or Grafton technique. Stretch therapy, myofascial stretching. If you can find somebody that's really good and can get to that next layer, that helps a lot. I still try and stretch to help my calves, but they seem to always get just bunched up, balled up, and tight. But the other thing I've started doing that's helped a lot, and I'm not sponsored in any way, but I'm going to give it a plug because of how much. Gnarly Nutrition's Fuel, their electrolyte drink, their Fuel 2.0. I drink that not just when I'm racing, because I think sometimes I've got my electrolyte balance isn't right, or whatever it is. So I don't use it just for racing or training. I use that once in a while, have some of that. More on the electrolyte side, but the Fuel 2.0 is great. It's because it's got a great taste. And speaking of, I had the tropical this weekend. I usually drink the limeade and the cherry cola. Tropical stuff I kind of stay away from, but I tried it. Man, that's good stuff. So hats off there. But that's just another thing you can do, and that may not have anything to do with the tightness, but maybe when you start running, if they get tight or maybe they cramp up or ball up, I found that's helped me a little bit because I'm a huge water. I drink water all day. I mean, just nonstop, and that's not enough. So I do drink a little help there. So, Ricky, I hope that helps. But yes, dry needling is one. A-stem or Grafton technique are two of the others. And if there's anybody out there that has some tips or tricks, please pass them along, because this guy here also struggles from just mean, gnarly calf muscles. Every time I get him worked on, people are like, holy cow, relax. I'm like, that's my relax mode. So anyway, thanks for the question, Ricky, and hope that helps. Next question up. I've read Can't Hurt Me, Runner's High, Born to Run, and Above the Clouds. What's next? Top recommendations. Thanks. By Steve Brown. Steve, great question. Can't Hurt Me was fun. Born to Run was probably one of the funner books. And again, it's been around for a while. Kind of depends on who you talk to. Kind of kicked off a lot of the trail running boom and some of that stuff. Also some maybe stories in the trail community. But I'm going to give you three more, Steve. And again, listeners, if you've got some good, and these are on the running side, but if you got some good ones, pass them along. First up, I'm going to have Running Your First Ultra by Chrissy Mell. We've had her on the show, got the book. It doesn't matter if it's your first ultra or not. There's just some great tips in there. Chrissy is one of the best to ever do this thing as a person, as a runner. She's so amazing. Had the pleasure to get to know her and hang out with her a few times. Read that book. That's a great one. Running Your First Ultra. The next one, another name that is pretty synonymous with our sport for sure. Brian Powell, Relentless Forward Progress, and also Where the Road Ends. A couple good reads. Again, depends on what you're looking for, but I always find good tidbits here and there. And I like to, people, God, we have so many shows coming up, because one of the other things we're going to talk about is, what's good for one person isn't good for the other. Whether that's coaching, whether that's, dietary plans, whether it's training plans, whether it's stretching, whether it's how to run, mechanics. Everybody's different, and everybody thinks they know the way. This is how you do it. This is what you don't do. This is what you do. This is the shoe. This isn't the shoe. I hope we can all agree on everybody's different. And at 50 years old, you are not changing my running mechanics overnight for sure. And I don't know if I've got the longevity to change them. It's not something you do that quickly. So there's a lot of things into that. But I think from these books, you can always gain something. And as I tell my kids, if there's something you like about your dad, hopefully you can take it with you. If there's something you don't, don't like, don't take it with you, right? I mean, we're all in that space, right, where you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, but also you're not everybody's the same, right? So I always struggle when people say, this is the way, this is the only way, this is how you do it. Everybody's different. And I also think you have to look towards not just short-term gains, what's going to get to the next race, what's going to change this. And even like where I'm sitting right now, my nutrition, right? How am I going to lose X amount of pounds in this much time and then just turn around and gain it back, right? So a lot of it is just lifestyle changes, long-term plan, long-term goal. Then the last one is by Jason Koop, Training Essentials for Ultra Running. There's a lot of good stuff in there. There's some science stuff in there, kind of a different read. But those are 4 books because Brian had 2. And again, you're welcome, everybody. Hope he sold you a book. But those are some good books. But if there's any more out there, I like entertaining books too. And that's why I think Born to Run was so fun, is because I think we can all agree there's a lot of stuff in that book that probably was a little stretched. Maybe that's the right word, right? That maybe we hit the point, but maybe we took it a little farther to make it funner, right? So there's all those out there. But Steve, great question. Please, comment on this, and we can pass that along on the podcast or on the social to Steve. Last question. You're never going to guess. Andrew Giles. This is a great question. It comes in perfect timing. His question is, how many people volunteer before, after, or instead of participating in an event? What are the best jobs? Personally, I try to volunteer at all events to give back to the ultra community and find checkpoints or aid stations late in the race the most fun. Holy cow. So we have talked about this, and that's a great question, Andrew. For me, it always depends about the race, right? Like, is it a long race? Is it a short race? Is it, when you say about how many volunteers, right? How many people before, after? It does take a tribe, right? It takes a bunch of people to, stuff bags, right? Get the logistics down, mark a course, set up, tear down, aid stations, buy the food, order the food, set up the volunteers, race direct, all those things. Timing is another big one, right? So I think it really depends on the race, but I always find there's more volunteers than I would have expected. And that's always fun to see, right? When there's more, because there's just people that want to do that. And just coming fresh off the RUFA, where I was there for so long and seeing so many different people, but also how much fun they had and how thankful. Like people were coming up to Tara saying, "Oh, thanks for letting me do this." And she's like, "Of course, right?" Like, and I've put races on, Joel and I volunteer. But isn't that awesome when you thank somebody for letting you volunteer? I think that's amazing. And again, I think it goes back, and I'm gonna put it on like the trail running community. It's so unique. It's so amazing. And I'm not saying other communities are not. I would never say that. But I've been involved with this one for so long. It is just the greatest group collectively of people. And I always find better stories, right? And that's why the podcast kind of started, was telling stories. And that's, we heard so many. How do we tell other people this story? And I think you see less of that percent that are kind of not good, positive, more negative stuff, right? There's a percentage of people in general, but I think it gets smaller when you get inside this community. I know we have some that aren't good people. I'm not going to find a good word for them, but, just not positive, right? And that's why I'm here. I don't like negative. So that's why I'm in the trail community. It's just so positive. It's uplifting. And I tell people, if you lost your mojo, if you're struggling, if, you're just kind of not feeling it, go volunteer. There is nothing better to see than the people out there. And then you kind of remember, oh, this is why I'm doing it, right? The tears, the joy, the friendships, the fun, the smiles. That's why you do it. The best jobs, oh my gosh, I've done a lot in my days. And some things I'm not super excited about. I've had to tear bib tags off at the finish line of an Xterra triathlon. Let me tell you how not fun that is. When people wear these things on parts of their body you just don't want to get near. At the end of a race in the summer, there's blood, vomit, sweat, everything on it. And they're coming across and you're like, mister, why did you put that on your shorts there, right? And you got to tear the tag off, right? Or in other places, even on the female side, right? It's like, that's probably one of the worst jobs I've ever had. And I've had some bad ones. I've been very fortunate to MC finishes, which I'm available to do. Throwing that out there, little plug for myself. That's one of my favorite things, because you get to see people as they cross, and you say their name, where they're from, a nice little tidbit about them, or even you make something up that's not true. They smile, and it's fun to see. And it's fun to be a part of the finish line for that long and have family members come up to you, and say, hey, my dad or my, significant other's coming in, it's their birthday, or it's their first ultra, it's first trail race or something. And you get to say that when they come across, and you're personalizing it right at the end. So to me, that's one of the funnest things if you get to do there. Giving out medals, being that aid station of 100 miler at 3 a.m., you could absolutely make somebody's race happen, right? When they want to drop, when they are down, and you're just there to give a word of encouragement, give them a cup of noodles that's probably been on the stove for a while, right? I think that's the beauty of it. I don't know if there's any most fun. I think the more you do, mix it up, I think it keeps it fun for you as well. So it's not just the same thing over and over again. I've cooked, a couple hundred hamburgers at Ty Draney's El Vaquero one year. That was super fun. Not as much interaction, but enough. But it was really fun, except I smelled like beef for like 2 weeks. Had to throw a hat away. This weekend, making some quesadillas. I've helped people change, and this is where I almost draw the line, help people change their socks in 100. I don't like feet at all. I think they're really bad. I don't like them at all. They're bad. I've helped people do that. But yeah, I think it's such a great question, Andrew, and I can't tell you how much, as a trail runner and just a person, I appreciate all the volunteer work you're doing for the ultra community. I think that's where, again, we just make such a big difference, because we've been in the trenches, or maybe you're trying to decide, right? Maybe I'm not sure I want to do 100. Go volunteer at one. Maybe it's a 50. Maybe it's a trail marathon. Maybe it's a half marathon. Go volunteer, and I guarantee you're going to hit the entry button when you get home, because it just gives you that good boost. Well, that's a good thing or a bad thing at times. And then we're on my professional day. I'm an executive director of a nonprofit in the trail community. We love volunteers. Volunteers really make things happen. And you can't say enough about them. So I don't know, maybe that's the long answer to the story, but I don't know if there's a best job. I think they're all, the fact that we get to do it, to be honest with you, I think is the best part. But I guess if I had to rate it, emceeing a finish line is pretty darn fun and entertaining. And I get to have a nice chest next to me of, you guess what's in it, it's up to you. Well, hey, that is all for this episode. Can't tell you how much we appreciate our listeners. I am blown away all the time with the comments I receive, emails, texts, seeing people out on the trail, seeing people at events. You all truly blow my mind. And every time I kind of get in my little slump, it's all of you out there that graciously say the things that you don't need to do or say or do that keep things fun for me. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you listening to the podcast. This is for you. I enjoy it 1,000,000%. We've got some great shows coming and lined up. We're just working out some dates. Hopefully you'll see some really big things to come as we lock in some things, some new things, some exciting things. But at the core, we're always going to be this podcast. We're not going to be, there's a lot out there, and I encourage people. I encourage people to listen to other podcasts because I think that's exciting. I think it's fun when you get to hear other people. I think it's fun when you expand and listen to different views and there's some good ones out there. I'm sure I don't listen to them, as I mentioned, for different reasons. Some I've dabbled with, but there's some good ones. Dylan Bowman, such a great guy. Had the fortune of meeting him and working with him on the Pearl Izumi Ultra team and early in his career. He's just a good guy. That's free trail, what he's got going and things he's working on, I love to see. But there's many out there. But again, we're not here to be the biggest one. We're not here to be the best one. We just want to be here, and hopefully y'all listen to it. So thank you so much for listening to the TrailManners podcast. This is Aric Manning, the host, and I am out. Thank you for listening to the TrailManners podcast. I really do want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at TrailManners, or swing by the website at trailmanners.com. Check out our store page. We got some shirts, folks. We got some beanies, or whatever else we have on there. Buy them. Support the show. Or you can hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear. And I always love hearing from you. And if you could take just a minute to subscribe to the show or leave us a rating or review on iTunes or Facebook, I truly would appreciate that. And lastly, TrailManners would love any support via our Patreon account at patreon.com/TrailManners to keep us alive and kicking. Until next time, this is Aric Manning reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.